Right now on the National Weather Desk, cleaning up, Southern California's use a break from the rain to dig out of mud and watch the water recede.
I can watch the water draining out of the garage for over an hour.
But the threat isn't over. More rain is on the way.
I'm really scared about it.
While some California mountains have incredible snowfall totals, people in other parts of the country want to know, where's winter?
Probably at least 4 to 6 inches to get this back up and running.
We'll show you the role weather plays in the dreaded pothole season.
And it all starts with water that seeps through cracks in the roadway surface.
And our social meteorology class is in session with lessons on clouds and snow and those weather apps on your phone.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We start again today in California, where cleanup efforts are underway in most of the state after this week's massive storm. Giant sinkholes, downed trees and power lines, mud flows, rock slides are keeping crews working overtime, and the risks are not over because of this right here. Just south of San Jose, California, officials are warning that the Salinas River is at risk of flooding and turning the area into an island. The Salinas River is the longest river on the Central Coast region. The National Weather Service predicts it will reach flood state this afternoon. Evacuation orders are in effect until further notice for residents in low-lying areas. And also, forget about driving here. Some roads were simply washed away. Others are impassable due to sinkholes. In Ventura County near L.A., Route 33 was hit with several mud and rock slides. First responders are working to clear trees and debris from roads, and energy crews are also standing by to restore power. Once again, if more trees fall on power lines, right now, about 30,000 power customers statewide are in the dark. Crews are also working to clear mud and debris from waterways and flood control systems. In Southern California, residents are finally seeing a pause in all of that rain, giving them a chance to clean massive amounts of mud from the area. Jeff Wynn has more from Studio City.
Heavy equipment has been scraping and hauling massive amounts of mud and debris around Fredonia Drive and Wrightwood Lane in Studio City. But for Scotty Leslie and Julie Gannis, it's been back-breaking work.
It's been difficult.
It's the second day of shoveling for this couple. They had to work through 3 feet of mud yesterday just to get their garage open, to get to their cars. Their good friend Dave Barr, who's a contractor, and another neighbor offered to pick up shovels as well. In Sherman Oaks, a security camera captured Ruben Quinones inspecting his home as debris flowed into his property Sunday night.
Definitely water there. I'm not sure what is going to be salvageable.
He's hired a cleanup crew of 8 to haul away the mess.
So far, all of the work here has been done by hand with shovels, and Quinones says it only took workers about an hour to fill up this bin.
And I didn't realize that it had this much mud, so I have a few more bins coming out.
I hiked up the hill, around back down, and came out through a neighbor's yard on the other side.
Stephen Quant can't walk through the front gate of his Hollywood Hills home because he's got 3 feet of mud. LA Public Works reopened this drain yesterday to help the water recede, some of which was trapped inside his garage.
I can watch the water draining out of the garage for over an hour.
This is the only drain for the neighborhood that, like the rest of Southern California, is poised for another round of rain.
I'm really scared about it.
And then there is the snow. Lots and lots of snow. How much, you ask? Check out these photos tweeted out by Caltrans. You can easily see the snowbanks are taller than the snow removal equipment. Just look at that. These pictures were taken in the Sierra Nevada mountains in Alpine County, which is just south of Lake Tahoe. For a look at what's next for the West, we are joined by meteorologist Brian Vandergraaf.
All right, Angela, I want to talk about what's happening out there. They are going to get a little bit of a lull. You can see that push that was coming in through yesterday. There's a little bit of a lull in the atmosphere, but there's more action off to the west that is poised to come through the upcoming weekend. Now, as far as how much more rain, I mean, we're talking 1 to 2 L.A., 2 to 3 San Francisco, higher amounts in Northern California, but doesn't seem like a lot, but on top of what they've had already, it is just going to be devastating. Any little bit can lead to some flooding. Listen, in the Deep South today, I got to take our attention here. Birmingham to Atlanta, an enhanced level 4 risk. Gusty winds, large hail, and tornadoes across Deep South. In fact, tornado watches already up this morning from Mississippi through portions of Alabama, and severe thunderstorm warnings already up for portions of Kentucky. It'll be an active afternoon. We'll be keeping a close eye and report more back tomorrow here. Angela?
All right, thanks, Brian. Wisconsin, famous for its frozen tundra, has seen an unusually warm winter and not much snowfall. So now, as meteorologist Phil DeCastro explains from Green Bay, every inch of snow makes a big difference.
Given the mild, wet weather the last couple weeks, even having this amount of snow is a feat.
We've doubled our hours of snowmaking at this point, not only in pump hours, but man hours. To have a team that's down for anything and never had made snow before in their lives, and I had to teach them how to do it, and they said, yeah, sure, we'll come at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, whenever, we'll do all that.
All that hard work has kept 3 of their 5 kilometers of trails open. And even though their planned grand opening celebration has now been delayed twice because of the iffy weather, freshman Noah Straka from the UW Green Bay cross-country ski team is just happy to have a place to train.
Some older people on the team were like, yeah, it was terrible before this because we'd have 3-4 inches of snow and we'd be on rock skis, couldn't even properly ski, or they'd be roller skiing or running.
The Nordic Center isn't alone in dealing with the unideal weather. The city of Green Bay was excited to see their new Magic Carpet tube lift in action at Triangle Sports Area on the city's east side, but they only got to see it for 2 days. They'll need some better luck with the snow for it to open again.
Well, whether it's heavy rain, floods, blizzards, or lack of snow, our 200 meteorologists all over the country have you covered. And one great way to get connected with them is on social media. So let's highlight some of their recent posts in a segment that we call Social Meteorology. We start with meteorologist Natalie Walters in Dayton, Ohio.
What's the difference between a slushy snow and a fluffy snow? This all has to deal with the temperature profile of the atmosphere, so we're going to talk a little bit about the snow ratio. When temperatures are at or slightly above freezing, you're typically going to have a heavier and wet snow. So for every 1 inch of water, that could bring about 5 inches of snowfall. Now on the other end, if it's very cold, 1 inch of water could bring up to 20 inches of snow, and that's when you get a fluffier snow. Now, of course, these numbers vary, but for me, I prefer a fluffier snow. What about you?
We've had some good cloud watching lately around South Carolina. I want to show you a cool picture from this weekend. This here is called cloud iridescence. You can tell by the colors. It almost looks like an oil sheen across the cloud. The colors aren't really in any sort of order and kind of resemble a rainbow, but not in a Roy G. Biv kind of way. Cloud iridescence usually happens in clouds close to the sun that are thin, but also made up of a lot of the same size, either water droplets or ice crystals. Together, they diffract the light, giving us those cool colors.
When a winter storm is coming, don't use your generic phone weather app. Your local meteorologists are trustworthy, reliable, and will give you more detail in the forecast, including possible outcomes and changes. So here's my advice to you today. Don't use apps. Use apps. About a week out from the storm, we'll bring you awareness that we're tracking something, but we won't be giving you specifics because that'll simply change. Then 4 to 5 days out, we'll give you possibilities and percentages, the possibility of what could happen in those upper and lower totals that we're seeing so far. Finally, 2 to 3 days out, we will give you specifics, those specific snow total numbers we're seeing or where we could see a bit of a messy mix. So make sure you choose apps.
And before the break, let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. Let's start right here in Washington, D.C., where it's a cloudy morning. Expect some isolated thunderstorms this afternoon, but highs today are in the mid-50s. Next, we head to Texas with a look at San Antonio, where there's a mixture of clouds, and you can see sun there, and highs in the upper 60s. Heading over to Lookout Mountain, Georgia, where there's a risk of severe weather today. Strong thunderstorms could contain damaging winds, nearly 20 miles per hour. Highs, though, in the low 60s. Let's end up north in Lake George, New York, where there is snow this morning, turning to rain, though, this afternoon with a high of 35 degrees. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, climate change. It may seem daunting and also irreversible, but new technologies may help reverse it. And lightning can be deadly, but Lightning Networks can help.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We've had thickening clouds overnight. Notice a little bit of light precipitation developing this morning. That precip picks up in intensity this afternoon and tonight. That's 7 p.m. We have some rain. Northern parts of New England will have a little bit of snowfall, primarily in ski country here. Even there will transition to rain. Look how warm it gets by Friday morning. We're in the 50s to near 60 degrees. The wind gets active as well. Now, cool air starts to move in on Saturday with a trend for brighter skies. We should be in the 30s.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Some extra clouds during the day on Thursday, and some very mild temperatures in the 50s to near 60. But look at this batch of rain and even January thunderstorms rolling in the 95 corridor by late in the day and in especially probably the evening hours. There could even be some strong or severe thunderstorms in this area in yellow the farther south you get from Virginia down to Piedmont. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for today. It looks like we're going to see comfortable temperatures in Raleigh, 68 degrees, 72 in Charleston, 75 in Macon, Jacksonville, 79 degrees, upper 70s, low 80s in South Florida as we see high pressure bring a return flow into play. But there is a cold front just west of the Mississippi River, and that's going to continue to push in colder temperatures over the next couple of days heading into this upcoming weekend.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
And welcome back, everyone. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have been emitting massive amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. In recent years, efforts have been made to reduce those emissions, but the damage has been done. Emily Gracie recently spoke to a climate expert about the issue and the new technologies that can reverse climate change.
Those gases accumulated up there, and they stay up there for a long time, even though you can't see them. And so they form a blanket. The blanket gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more fossil fuels that we've burned. And at this point, it's causing a lot of problems. It's basically, our planet has a fever. But the problem is those greenhouse gases stay up there. So even though we're burning less, more greenhouse gases are still going up there. If we get to a balance between what we're putting up and what we're taking out, then the blanket stops getting bigger. But the problem with that is it's already too warm. We're getting so many adverse consequences from the size of the blanket already that we don't want to leave it there. So the idea behind climate restoration is let's take the things that we know how to do to remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and let's just max that out so that we can get back to actually a healthy climate.
What is the percentage wise of what's going up right now and what's already there?
Well, it's about a 1-to-40 ratio. Greenhouse gases that are accumulated in the atmosphere represent about 40 parts, and we're adding about 1 part a year right now. So just reducing that 1 part doesn't really solve the problem.
Can you talk a little bit about what climate restoration is and what CO2 removal is?
In terms of capturing CO2 from the atmosphere, it is possible to do that. You can either do it by pulling it directly out of the atmosphere, and we have people doing that, and they take that captured CO2 and you can do things with it. You can also capture it from the smokestacks of industry. And if you capture that again, you have the question of what do you do with it once you captured it? And sometimes that captured CO2 can be used to be part of a solution. For example, if you look at concrete, which is made out of a cement, a glue, and aggregate, you can make aggregate out of captured CO2. It's happening in all kinds of spheres, from academia to little garages. Just like the tech revolution, we've got incredible human intellectual capacity to work on this problem, and people are very motivated to work on it.
One major factor for all those greenhouse gases is cars. We just talked about what's being emitted into the air. Now let's take a look at the problems on the ground. Potholes. Cincinnati meteorologist John Gum shows us the role weather plays in the formation of potholes.
Well, it is a special season in many parts of the country. It is pothole season. These things seem to pop up out of nowhere, and they seem to spread like weeds across parts of the country this time of the year. But potholes actually start well before you can see them. And it all starts with water that seeps through cracks in the roadway surface. And that water goes down to the road bed, which usually is a rock base that's under the pavement. As that water seeps in there, it softens that road bed. And as it goes down in there, it gets colder and eventually freezes. And that frozen water, turning to ice, obviously, expands the pavement and pushes it upwards. As traffic comes along, though, it puts additional stress on that pavement. And what we see with that weakened pavement is a pothole beginning to form. Now, the water goes away. It exits that void. It dissipates, either evaporates or moves away from the hole. So we have this hole under the road. Yeah, the pothole is there, but you can't see it. And then as more traffic comes along, it smashes the road down. It collapses into that hole, and we start to see the actual pothole form. As more traffic passes over this same area, that pothole can grow and expand. These things can become monsters over time, and they can do major damage to your automobile if you happen to hit one going too fast.
This time of the year is not just pothole season. It's also a time when people start to feel sad. We're talking about seasonal affective disorder, where gray skies and cold weather can make us feel a little down. But meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael explains from Columbus, Ohio, that this weekend might bring some relief for many of us.
Well, I'm not sure where you live, but it's the middle of January. It's still cold outside, and more than likely it kind of looks like this. Pretty gray for most of us for winter. However, this weekend is going to be a great opportunity to get outside. Take a look at the temperatures across the country for the end of the week, weekend, and even into early next week. A little cooler across the east on Friday, but there's still a lot of red covering the map. Check out Saturday, most of the central part of the country, and that shifts into the majority of the country on Sunday with above normal temperatures, even into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Still staying warm for most of us unless you live to the west. So if you want to get outside this weekend, maybe battle some of that seasonal affective disorder that some of us might be experiencing because of how cloudy and cold it's been, get outside this weekend. You'll still get some vitamin D even if it's a cloudy day. Now, it's only about 33% of what you normally would get, but there's some key things to keep in mind. The farther north you live, you're going to need to be outside a little bit longer because the sun's at a lower angle for you. Exposed skin, the more covered up you are, the less vitamin D that you'll start to build up. So if you can, go with the t-shirt, try to get some skin exposed as long as it's not too cold. The darker your skin is as well, it's going to take a little bit longer. And as we go through the next several months, getting more and more sunshine, really take advantage of the sunny days. But even on a cloudy day, still going to be good to get outside for most of us this weekend with above normal temperatures because we're not done with winter just yet.
When lightning strikes a person, it makes headlines because it's so rare but also can be deadly. Lightning kills on average 20 people right here in the U.S. and over 2,400 across the globe. But the more we learn about lightning, the less of a danger it actually presents. Cherison Clark in Charleston, South Carolina takes a look at lightning networks and how they can keep people safe.
It can be beautiful from a distance, but with the beauty of lightning comes potential danger.
20 people a year are killed in the United States. 24,000 people around the world are killed by lightning every year. And 250,000 people are injured by lightning every year.
Which is why experts say precise measurements are so important.
So by knowing where thunderstorms are, we can keep people safe. We can use that lightning data to understand how a storm is intensifying.
Lightning is measured through lightning networks, big antennas installed across the globe.
So when lightning occurs, it acts like a giant radio antenna, sending out electromagnetic waves around the world at the speed of light. And we have sensors that are sensitive to those waves. And when a lightning wave reaches each sensor, the sensor knows the direction that the wave came from and the time that it arrived down to the nanosecond.
Those sensors then give back data.
We can use information from multiple sensors, from as few as 2 sensors to as many as 30 or 35 sensors, to say, this is where the lightning was, this is when it occurred, this is how much electricity was in it.
And now let's take to the skies over Cave Point County Park near Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather across the Midwest. We got some snow and, well, showers down to the south here, mostly rain towards the Ohio Valley today with a little surge of temperatures, but most of the Midwest dealing with temperatures below freezing for highs for the day today. That cooler air moves in for all of us tomorrow and looking a little quieter for most of us. Some lake effect snow and pretty quiet for almost all of us Saturday with temperatures trying to warm up.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off a little warm, 50s and 60s down to the south, but up to the northern the region, we're already at the freezing mark in Amarillo. We're watching a Pacific cold front pushing in with some much cooler and drier air today. That'll make things a little chilly throughout most of the region. We'll also be looking at an opportunity for rain from Oklahoma to Arkansas and into Louisiana. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there and a good Thursday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we are really struggling to get a break from round after round of heavy rain, courtesy of several atmospheric rivers pushing up the I-5 corridor, the latest of which will bring some steady precipitation from San Francisco to the Seattle area throughout the course of our Thursday. So as we head into the afternoon, a lot of warmth, a lot of rain there. Will be chilly over Missoula and Jackson with highs in the 30s. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Last week, the South saw a record-breaking number of tornadoes, proving that tornadoes can and do form outside of the spring season. Meteorologist Cheryl Lemke has more from Springfield, Illinois.
The first week of January brought unseasonably warm weather across the Midwest, and those spring-like temperatures helped to set off some spring-like thunderstorms and an outbreak of severe storms. Several funnel clouds and tornadoes were sighted across central Illinois, mainly in a corridor between I-55 and I-57. One twister touched down in Auburn. A couple more tornadoes targeted Maroa, Illinois. One rated as an EF1 storm, packing 110-mile-per-hour winds. Damage was reported, including a barn being completely destroyed and a grain bin tossed across the highway. All in all, a total of 8 tornadoes skipped across central Illinois on January 3rd, 2023, allowing last week's outbreak to tie the record for the most number of tornadoes from a January event since January 7th, 1989, when 8 also occurred. It just goes down to show you that tornadoes can occur during any month and not relegated to just the spring season.
Thank you for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we talk to an expert about why all the flooding in California won't fix the drought issues plaguing that state. I'm Angela Brown. Have a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.